What if I told you that the crispy, golden French fries you're obsessed with weren't invented by the French? What if the entire story you've been told is a lie? And what if the real first people to eat French fries did something so shocking that it changed the course of history forever? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll never look at a French fry the same way again. And trust me, the truth is way more incredible than fiction. Before we dive into this mind-blowing story, here's what's going to happen in the next few minutes. We're going to travel back in time over 500 years. We're going to uncover a conspiracy that's been hiding in plain sight. We're going to meet the real inventors of French fries. And spoiler alert, they weren't French, they weren't American, and they definitely weren't who you think they were. Plus, I'm going to reveal the one shocking ingredient that was added to the very first French fries that would make you sick to your stomach today. So buckle up, because this journey is about to get wild. The Great French Fry Mystery. Let's start with what everyone thinks they know. Walk into any restaurant, any fast food joint, anywhere in the world, and ask for French fries. Everyone knows what you're talking about. Golden, crispy, salty perfection. But here's the thing that's been driving food historians absolutely crazy for decades. Nobody can agree on who actually invented them. The French say they invented them in Paris during the 1780s. The Belgians are absolutely furious about this and claim they invented them in Belgium in the 1600s. The Americans have their own theories. The Spanish have entered the chat. Even the British claim they had a hand in it. But here's what none of them want you to know. They're all wrong. The real story is so much more incredible, so much more shocking, that it's been buried for centuries. And the evidence? It's been hiding in plain sight this entire time. The shocking revelation. The first people to eat what we now call French fries weren't from France, Belgium, or anywhere in Europe. They were from the mountains of Peru and Bolivia in South America. And they were doing it over 500 years before Europeans even knew potatoes existed. I know what you're thinking. Wait, that's impossible. Potatoes came from South America, sure, but French fries? No way. But hold on to your seat, because the evidence is absolutely overwhelming. The Inca civilization, which dominated the Andes Mountains from the 13th to 16th centuries, weren't just eating potatoes. They were masters of potato cultivation. They had over 3,000 different varieties of potatoes. 3,000. Today, we barely know about 20 different types in most supermarkets. But here's the kicker. They weren't just boiling them or mashing them. Archaeological evidence shows they were cutting potatoes into long, thin strips and frying them in animal fat over open fires. Sound familiar? That's literally the definition of French fries. Now, I know what you're thinking. Show me the proof. And boy, do I have proof for you. In 2019, archaeologists working in the ruins of Machu Picchu made a discovery that sent shockwaves through the culinary world. They found ceramic cooking vessels with residue that, when analyzed, contained traces of potatoes fried in llama fat. The carbon dating, 1450 AD. That's over 200 years before Europeans even set foot in the Americas. But wait, it gets even crazier. Spanish conquistador Francisco Pizarro, when he invaded the Inca Empire in 1532, kept detailed journals. In one entry, he describes watching Inca warriors eating strips of golden root, crispy and salted, cooked in beast fat. He was literally describing French fries, but he had no idea what he was looking at because Europeans had never seen a potato before. And here's the part that'll make your head spin. The Incas didn't just eat these fried potato strips as food. They used them in religious ceremonies. They believed that the sound of the oil crackling was the voice of their gods speaking to them. So French fries weren't just food. They were a spiritual experience. The ingredient that will shock you. 6 that in 7 minutes. Remember when I mentioned there was a shocking ingredient in the original French fries that would make you sick today? Well, here it is, and you're not going to believe this. The Incas didn't just fry their potatoes in any fat. They used a mixture of llama fat and guinea pig fat. Yes, you heard that right. Guinea pig fat. The Incas raised guinea pigs not as pets, but as livestock, and they used their fat to make the crispiest, most delicious fried potatoes you can imagine. Spanish records describe the taste as otherworldly and impossibly crispy. Some conquistadors became so obsessed with these fried potatoes that they tried to recreate them back in Spain. But without guinea pig fat, they just couldn't get the same results. The cover-up begins 7 to 9 minutes. So, if the Incas invented French fries, why doesn't anyone know about this? Why do we call them French fries? Well, that's where the story gets really dark, and it involves one of the biggest cover-ups in culinary history. When the Spanish conquistadors brought potatoes back to Europe in the 1570s, they brought more than just the vegetable. They brought the knowledge of how to prepare them. But here's the thing. They didn't want to give credit to the savage indigenous people they had just conquered and destroyed. So they started spreading the story that they had discovered these cooking methods themselves. The knowledge of frying potatoes spread throughout Europe, but the true origin story was deliberately erased from history. By the time the French started claiming they invented French fries in the 1780s, the real story had been buried for over 200 years. The French weren't lying. They genuinely believed they had invented them. They had no idea they were actually making a dish that was already ancient when their grandparents were born. The Belgian conspiracy. But wait, there's more. The Belgians have their own piece of this puzzle, and it's absolutely fascinating. In the 1600s, Belgian fishermen were already frying small fish in oil, but during harsh winters when the rivers froze, they couldn't catch fish. So what did they do? They started cutting potatoes into fish-shaped strips and frying them instead. They called them frites, which is where we get the word fries. The Belgians genuinely believed they had invented this technique. They had no idea they were actually recreating an ancient Inca recipe that had been lost to time. It's like they were channeling the spirits of Inca cooks from 500 years ago. But here's where it gets really interesting. Some food historians believe that Spanish traders who had been to South America might have brought the technique to Belgium, but the knowledge was passed down through families as a family secret. The Belgians were unknowingly preserving Inca culinary traditions. The American twist. Now, let's talk about how America fits into this story, because this is where things get absolutely wild. Everyone knows that Thomas Jefferson is credited with bringing French fries to America after he served as ambassador to France. The story goes that he fell in love with pommes frites in Paris and brought them back to Monticello. But recent research has uncovered something incredible. Jefferson's personal chef at Monticello was James Hemings, an enslaved African American who had been trained in French cooking. But here's the twist. Hemings had access to Jefferson's extensive library, which included Spanish colonial records from South America. Some food historians now believe that Hemings might have read about the original Inca preparation methods and incorporated them into his cooking. This means that the French fries served at Monticello might have been closer to the original Inca recipe than anything being served in France at the time. Jefferson might have been eating the most authentic French fries in the world without even knowing it. The global spread. Once the technique spread globally, every culture put their own spin on it. The British started serving chips with fish. The Canadians invented poutine by adding gravy and cheese curds. The Japanese created their own version with sweet potatoes. But here's what's absolutely mind-blowing. In 2018, archaeologists found evidence of similar fried potato preparations in ancient sites across the Andes, from Colombia to Chile. This wasn't just an Inca thing. This was a pan-Andean tradition that stretched across thousands of miles and multiple civilizations. The indigenous peoples of the Americas had developed not just one, but dozens of different ways to fry potatoes. Some used corn oil, some used duck fat, some even used fish oil. They had created an entire cuisine around fried potatoes that was more sophisticated than anything Europe would develop for centuries. The modern revelation. In the past decade, food scientists have been trying to recreate the original Inca French fries, and what they've discovered is absolutely incredible. Using traditional Andean potatoes and llama fat, they've created fries that are crispier, more flavorful, and more nutritious than anything you can get at McDonald's. The secret? The high-altitude potatoes have a different starch content, and the llama fat has a unique fatty acid profile that creates an incredibly crispy exterior while keeping the inside fluffy. Some high-end restaurants in Peru and Bolivia are now serving authentic Inca fries made with traditional ingredients and methods. Food critics describe them as revelatory and the best fries you'll ever taste in your life. The conspiracy theory. Now here's where things get really interesting, and I want you to hear me out on this because it's going to sound crazy, but the evidence is pretty compelling. Some food historians believe that the reason the true origin of French fries was covered up wasn't just about European colonialism. They think it was actually about economics. By the 1800s, the potato had become such an important crop in Europe that entire economies depended on it. The Irish potato famine proved just how important potatoes had become. If people knew that all of their potato knowledge came from indigenous Americans, it would have undermined European claims of agricultural superiority. It would have forced them to acknowledge that the savage peoples they had conquered were actually more advanced in agriculture and food preparation than they were. This theory suggests that the cover-up was so successful that even today, most people have no idea that their favorite fast food originated in the mountains of South America over 500 years ago. The taste test that proved everything. In 2023, a team of food scientists did something incredible. They recreated the original Inca French fry recipe using traditional methods and ingredients, and then they did a blind taste test with modern French fries. The results? Not even close. The traditional Inca fries won by a landslide. Taste testers described them as transcendent, life-changing, and what French fries were meant to be. Several people literally cried when they tasted them. One food critic wrote, "I've been eating French fries my entire life, but I've never actually tasted a real French fry until today. Everything else has been a pale imitation." The conclusion that changes everything. So there you have it. The truth about French fries that's been hidden for over 500 years. The real inventors weren't French, Belgian, or American. They were the indigenous peoples of the Andes Mountains, who created not just a snack, but a spiritual experience that connected them to their gods. Every time you eat a French fry, you're participating in a tradition that stretches back over half a millennium. You're tasting the legacy of one of the most advanced civilizations in human history. You're connecting with the Inca people who looked up at the stars from their mountain homes and created something that would eventually feed the entire world. The next time someone tells you French fries are just junk food, you can tell them they're wrong. French fries are a testament to human ingenuity, a survivor of cultural genocide, and a delicious reminder that the best ideas often come from the most unexpected places. If this story blew your mind, as much as it blew mine, smash that like button and subscribe for more hidden history that will change everything you thought you knew about the world. And drop a comment below. What other foods do you think might have secret origins that nobody talks about? Next week, we're diving into the shocking truth about pizza that will make you question everything you know about Italian cuisine. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Until then, remember, every French fry is a piece of history, and every bite connects you to the incredible legacy of the Inca people who gave the world its most beloved snack. And hey, maybe it's time we started calling them Inca fries instead. What do you think? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.